In this Prager University course, I want to focus not on the evidence for God's existence, but on the benefits of belief.
Well, I can't lie, I think that might be a good call. Well, at least in one regard, as there is no evidence for God's existence. At least no evidence that can't be more reasonably applied to explanations that aren't God did it, though. Although, it's kind of a bad call in believing a non-true thing, even for a good reason, doesn't make that thing true. And let's say, it ain't gonna be a good reason. But I'm sure we will get to that.
If God exists, then the world didn't just evolve by chance, but by deliberate design.
No. Why can they never not screw it up right away? Why does this always happen? Sorry, need to breathe. Right, that does not follow. If a God exists, even if the Crimsbian God happens to exist, that does not mean evolution is untrue. And in the Crimes Boys one's case, all it would really mean is that the Bible is obviously wrong, because the Bible was written by idiots and evolution is a fact. And if a God did the everything, he did evolution too, end of story. Well, not the end, because the story didn't start, because God doesn't real. Also, how is evolution being fake a benefit? Do you know how much of medical science would be rendered false by that very idea? Christ, Pete, mate, I would imagine you would just melt right there in your seat.
There's an artist behind this incredible work of art, this big and beautiful world.
Ah, the argument from "but pretty though," always a favourite of, morons, who seem to forget just how much of the world is utterly disgusting and terrifying, or just plain garbage. And that's before we even start talking about the travesty that is humans. Goddamn. I mean, that kind of proves he doesn't real, because they would have been disappeared right away, really.
If God exists, we're living in a great story, an epic like The Lord of the Rings, with real heroes and heroic tasks.
Oh my god, that is so freaking lame. I don't even know where to start. Like, seriously, are you so devoid as a person that you literally need to live in a fantasy world? And you know what? Even if that were true, 99.9% of the people would be guy who gets crushed under falling rock, or dwarf number 3, or some other super lame ass shit. Seriously, that is not what you want to be the case. Also, magic doesn't real. Calm the crap down.
Ultimately, all the twists and turns of this epic narrative will be paid off. Everything will make sense.
Ah, the promise of, no. I know that it sounds completely frigging ludicrous now, but all those plot holes and contrivances and literal deus ex machinas will all make sense. All you have to do is believe that they make sense, even though they don't. Is this just his excuse to his publishers for how shit his writing has been lately? Make a story that makes some kind of sense. Not a promise of a good one. Seriously, this is not that complicated, unless you're a talentless hack.
It will even have a happy ending.
And then all the humans exploded. I mean, that is likely how it goes, but not because Bible though, mostly because shiny red buttons are so very appealing. Go on, just one little poke. It couldn't hurt, could it? Do it. Do it.
Do it. Not necessarily, or even likely in our own lifetime.
Not at all. Assuming you are talking about the return of Master Haber's crispy pancakes, it was supposed to happen after Jesus went away and was to come back us shortly after, and then 1500 or so years ago, and then 1200 and change, and then 1000, and so on and so forth. And yet, with all these repeated, definitely this time guy predictions, including many recent ones, the story still hasn't ended. I'm starting to think that it's never going to happen because it's a bullshit story some assholes made up billions of years ago or whatever.
Even Moses didn't get into the promised land.
God was like, good work, now jog on, dickhead. I mean, seriously, God is such an ineffectual deity that he can't even bend his own rules in order to let someone who spent 40 pigging years walking in tiny circles, doing a journey that should have taken him about a fortnight, just because God forgot to put up signs. And don't start with he didn't want them to go there because blah, 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 blah. Again, he's God, can change literally all of time and space how he wants. We all know it was just because he couldn't read a map and didn't want to stop to ask for directions.
But over the grand course of time, in an afterlife, which exists as surely as God exists.
So, not cool. thanks for clearing that up. And I mean, for crying out loud, I have said it a million times, but a god could exist without needing to make any sort of human soul storage being necessary, or any of the other crap. You just want that to be true, because you think you're special and really need to exist forever. But bad news, you ain't. And my god, you shouldn't be. I mean, considering the sheer incoherence of the things that you say, having it last forever would do some serious damage to reality. Better to just let you all flow down the drain than to have a big, sludgy sink full of bad ideas and vomit.
If God exists, the presence of evil, hard as it is to accept, makes sense.
It literally flipping doesn't. If God am perfect and God am all-powerful, evil existing in any form whatsoever makes literally zero sense. That's one of the things I've seen. How do atheists deal with the problem of evil? Easy. We don't. It's not our problem. It, in a broad, bad things happen sense, is exactly what we would expect from a universe that does not have an all-potent omni-lad who can't do anything but the nice, but makes zero sense to one that does. Because the second it exists, he either made it, or he can't get rid of it. So one of those abilities can't possibly be true.
God allows it for a reason, namely to preserve our free will.
Except all those times he explicitly makes people do things against their will, and the fact that, again, Omnilad powers make free will impossible for humans. But then if God can't make humans with real free will, then he isn't all-powerful. And if they did have real free will, he wouldn't know what they're going to do, and again wouldn't be all-powerful. Christ, it's one simple element that they could have just not given him that might have made the guy at least a little bit more plausible. But instead, they screwed up and gave him the superpower of impossibility. Smart move.
And God will reconcile all injustices in the end.
I've heard this one before as well, and nope, doesn't work. Any amount of evil done to someone that's your fault can never be undone. And maybe you'll say, well, he can undo because Control-Z. Well, if the point was for it to exist for some arbitrary bullshit reason, then why have it exist at all? The more you try to justify the poor writing of ancient morons, the more corners you end up writing yourselves into. Like, maybe stop?
If there is no God, life is one big crapshoot.
Okay, so what? Why is that a bad thing? Why do you so desperately need for things to be controlled by a cosmic tyrant who tortures you until he doesn't? I don't know about you, but that sounds really terrible, and definitely not something that I would go to a big room and then wish really, really hard was real. But then again, I have a brain cell. Yes, I have a brain cell singular, but at least I'm using it, unlike this clod.
If God does exist, morality is a real, objective feature of the world.
And yet no one can agree on all of them, often to quite shocking degrees. There's no way to detect morality, and it for some reason appears as though it's more of a function of natural selection, where humans who cooperate instead of hurting each other are more likely to survive, so the reward centers of most people's brains get a kick out of taking care of each other. It's almost like that's objectively nonsense.
If there is no God, morality is just the rules we make up for this little game of life that we play.
No, morality is very much a thing that is linked to people's survivability. The rules we make up for each other are called laws. And there's, again, a reason why different countries have different rules, even though, as you said, morality is objective. But since it's not, it makes a lot of sense that the general desire to care for other people can lead to different conclusions as to what exactly that means. And I am, of course, generalizing here. I really don't need anyone whining in the comments about socialism or capitalism or what the hell ever. I don't care. You'll all burn the same.
If God exists, love is the nature of an eternal reality.
Lame. I got nothing else to say. That's just like the most asinine thing I think you've said so far. I mean, what does that even mean? Is God going to be fondling us forever because of how much he loves us? See, it doesn't take long for me to turn it into something super creepy, does it?
If there is no God, love is just a fleeting feeling, no more than a bunch of chemical and neurological interactions.
Fleeting feeling plus chemical and neurological yada yada things are not the same thing. Just because love is a chemical wasp name that makes us want to bump uglies does not, in my opinion, lessen its value. You still feel those things. You still care for people. It's just explicable and not some magic hoo-ha. Seriously, the fact it's a reaction in our body makes it real instead of the faffy esoteric BS that people tend to describe it as. And in my opinion, real things are always better than not real ones.
If God exists, you are of infinite value.
And there it is, isn't it? Religion good, because I want so desperately, not just to feel special, because you know what? Everyone is, even incredibly normal Bob. All of you are the result of astronomical chance. And you still did it. And if you're watching this video, you managed to take those odds and really just completely waste them on bullshit. I'm so proud of you. But these people want infinite specialness. Imagine being that far up your own goddamn, apparently infinite arse. Infinite poops, people, think about it.
He knows you as a parent knows his child.
Pfft, if I had kids, I would know them way better than God knows me. I mean, I would. Wait, what? I have who now? 2 of them. When the hell did that happen? Nearly a decade ago, and I see them every single day. No, doesn't ring a bell.
He's accessible to you.
Oh yeah, is he now? Accessible God? About as accessible as all those countless dads who've just popped out for ciggies or milk or lotto tickets or whatever. But you know what? No, he's not even that accessible. Because at least those guys exist, or existed long enough to spoof out a sprog shot. God is less there than a deadbeat dad. Amazing.
If there is no God, each of us is as insignificant as a rock on an unknown planet.
Because, of course, rocks are well known for their ability to do stuff and communicate and build societies and do all sorts of shit that makes them very significant to each other. And yeah, sure, that's not the same thing as being significant to a sky whiz, but honestly, we all know that only bad things happen to people who get on his radar according to his own propaganda, so maybe that's a good thing.
If God exists, death is conquered. Because if there is a God, there is a reality outside of space and time.
I mean, there kind of is already without the God-man. But if you mean, like, in a there's another place that we will go way, well, what the hell makes you think any human will get there? And again, why does there have to be? God not powerful enough to exist within time and space exclusively without the need for outside boys? Why do you always have to put such hard limits on his power scaling, eh?
If there is no God, there is nothing immortal, and all the good things in life are destroyed forever.
Okay, again, not necessarily a bad thing. I mean, the fact is, humanity is very, very unlikely to make it even close to the forever point, and even then, that's a really long time away. If you could live that long, even with precious whiskey, at some point you are just gonna be done with it all. Same applies to heaven. No matter how amazing something is, humans get used to it, and when they get used to it, they start getting tired of it. No one with half a brain cell wants to live forever, and it turns out that I'm like twice that smart.
You and everyone you love and everything you think matters are all consigned to oblivion.
Good. That makes the life bit of being alive actually valuable. It means that you should actually care. This, well, you have an infinity life after this one, completely degrades the value of human experience. It strips away the whole point of being alive. And that's why so many goddamn theists are just awful. Because why shouldn't they be? Life literally doesn't matter to them. This meme does the rounds a lot, and it's so funny to me. If God not real, then Christy boy loses nothing. What are you, stupid? Of course you lost something. You lost literally everything. You could have had a life not dedicated to a lie. Are you serious? I cannot think of a way you could lose more.
If there is no God, life is pointless. Everything we've done and lived for will ultimately be in vain.
And if there is a God, apparently the same applies, because it was all this pointless test that means less than nothing because it wasn't even what you were supposed to do. Seriously, you are really making this whole believing in God thing sound like a freaking terrible idea. Almost like it is.
Can I prove with an absolute certainty that God exists?
Well, since you can't prove with absolute uncertainty he does, I'm a guess probably, definitely, maybe, unequivocally not. And I do love that he is lining himself up for a no here, which is, well, hell, it's more intellectually honest than a lot of the dweebs I cover, so kudos for that at least.
I can make the case that overwhelming evidence suggests that he does, but no, I can't prove that he exists with absolute certainty.
You can make the case that with overwhelming evidence he does. Name one piece that I can't instantly refute with a far more likely or, based in reality reason for that apparent evidence. You do just that, and I'll be really surprised because people have been claiming that shit for years and fail at every turn for some baffling reason. Must be because of how super real God is or something.
That's likely part of his plan.
Oh wow, well there's a hell of a cop-out for you. He makes himself completely unknowable on purpose, even though his book says he totally wants people to know him in a personal, possibly sexual way. What a spineless little toad you are. Brilliant.
God deliberately doesn't give us absolute proof, so that we're free to choose or not to choose to believe in him.
Absolute proof of a God wouldn't stop people not believing in your God, because it wouldn't have to be proof that a Crimsbian God exists, just proof positive that deities exist. And you could leave all the other shit there for people to do or do not believe in him. I mean, it would make him a total bastard for still making it so that the vast majority of the planet, for some reason, based on the places they were born, tend to pick the wrong religion. But it would be something, and it wouldn't change your stupid little point there.
So, which way do you want to go?
To the pub, far away from you, because you made religion sound even more pointless than I already knew it was. Frankly, I'm almost impressed.
Wait, before you go, I have something super important to tell you. It's life or death. It will change everything forever. Nope, wait, it's gone. Oh well, probably wasn't important. But while I have you, don't forget to comment, subscribe and notify. And if you want more of my smexy voice, check out Mrs. Six's channel Spoonstaff Stories, where I narrate and voice all the videos, and she does the work. And if you want to support the channel, check out the merch store for cool t-shirts, or check out Patreon, memberships and PayPal to support directly. Finally, follow me on the medias of social to get completely pointless guff and to keep up on the latest releases. Oh, I just remembered what I was going to tell you. Whatever you do, don't touch the